Bigelow, Morgan State.
No volume. No volume. Hello? Is it now? You hear me? No? Take me out to the ball game? No? Okay. You know what? For that, get your Mets jacket off, okay? We don't allow New York Mets fans in this place.
You're not the only one.
Raise your hand if you're a New York Mets fan.
Not as much as what?
All right, okay. So I might feel bad for you this year.
I'm also dog.
Okay, good. Welcome, everybody. Steve, good to see you. And we have your partner on Zoom.
Hello, Chris.
Welcome, Chris.
We have Tim and Joe here. Chris. Hi, Chris. There's our other part.
And since we're welcoming the Zoomers, there's one, Chris Bradford. Welcome. Ed Jackson's there? Okay, Ed. Good to see you, Ed. Everybody, let's settle down. Just settle down. Hi, Phil. This year, we have the magic of Rotary. I think we're probably going to use a little magic to get these fires put out. Shall we do abracadabra, hocus pocus? I mean, it could be just as easy as putting out the fires. I mean, and I'm just kidding because it's not a kidding thing. We all are experiencing it in different ways. Chris had to go back to his home. My business is shut down because of power. They don't have any power to my area. So we're all in it. Hopefully we get through this next few months. The greeter today was supposed to be Robert Simon, but Janet Schwartz jumped in as always. Thank you, Janet. Get Janet around the block. I think, Jim, we don't need to change the greeter. I think Janet's a perfect greeter. Is Aaron Donahue here? Okay, so Sam, did you want to do the Pledge of Allegiance? No. If you don't know it, Tom Barron, everybody stand up. To the flag, United States of America, and to the republic which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The thought of the day by Jim Crane.
Well, it's great that we're able to join together today. All of the activities that have been going on here in our neighborhoods. But I thought I would today just share a very short New Year's prayer, since we are here in the first month of the year. So if you bow your heads. As the dawn breaks on a new year, let us give thanks for all we hold dear, our health, our family, and our friends. Let us release our grudges, our anger, and our pains, for these are nothing but binding chains. Let us live each day in most loving ways, the God-conscious way. Amen.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim Crane. Oh, the song of the day is one of the things that I think everybody looks forward to. And in your regard, Coach, we got a special theme song for you. Okay. Okay. You got a hat?
Well, I thought since the motif is baseball, we'd sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." And I have a Mets jacket I got at the garage sale, Steve. 35 years ago, this is the second time I've worn it, and it's a little bit small. And thirdly, I have a hat collection, and I must have about 40,000 baseball caps. So I decided to wear an umpire cap.
Good.
Okay, let's stand up and sing "Take Me Out." Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to just buy me some peanuts. I know if I never get back, we're good boy.
Well, who's going to jump in to Mark Rogo? Looks like John O'Keefe was supposed to be our windmill, right? Oh, Diane. Thank you, Diane. We're good. Visiting Rotarians and guests of Rotarians. So, Steve Shear, do you want to introduce?
Yes.
Okay.
Jim Stripper
Hey, Tim.
and Joe Mallett.
Welcome, guys. Okay. And where is that coach? Oh, there. All right. Welcome, guys. I want to introduce a guest. This is a guest of Sunda, Aaron McIntyre, right?
Correct.
And stand up. Everybody, let's give him a warm welcome. We don't make you run around the circle 10 times. So this is something that's very important to me, everybody. On January 25th at 9:30 a.m., there's a district breakfast at the Beverly Garland Hotel. I believe the cost is either $40 or $50, but if you sign up, we will reimburse you. So you just have to send your invoice to Terry, and he will reimburse you. Tom, are you planning on going?
I'm not sure.
You're looking at me like strange. That's why I asked you the question. You'd rather pay and not get reimbursed? If you're free on the 25th, I would love for everybody to be there. Okay? How many people are planning to go? 3, 4. Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? Okay. We'll have 4 people. Janet, are you going? You're going. All right. There'll be 5. Thank you. Paul Harris presentation. Steve, you want to wait until we'll do it next week.
But next week, I sent out an email last week, or actually a little bit before last week, that those individuals who are ready to receive their next multiple Paul Harris pen. So I'll resend that email. But if you remember, if you got that, I don't remember all the people that I sent it to. Please try to be here next week so we can make that presentation to you. I will then send out another email.
Mark Logo, I know this is an impromptu, but I'd like, since we have a couple of people that are interested in Rotary, you want to come up and talk a little bit about what Rotary is?
Okay. Push our meeting until 5 o'clock.
No. I said Reader's Digest.
First of all, I think you should find Tom Barron's. Did you guys see that Facebook posting? Picture of Tom with a garden hose out in front of his barber's house, and the barber lives in Gardena, you know?
I missed it too.
Rotary is sort of like a way of life. I mean, Michael Newman once called it a religion, perhaps. It's not. But Rotary is all about giving back to the community and making the world a better place. And you can be minimally involved, attend club meetings and so forth, or you can be crazy involved and go to different clubs all over the Los Angeles area and get involved in district events and international events. It's a wonderful organization. It's very non-judgmental and has incredibly diverse ways to just do better things in life. And the most unique thing that really, I think, makes this district stand out is that every year we have a humanitarian trip. No district in the world has this. We actually go to a third world country and see Rotary projects that are being finished up that this district has funded and done every year in a third world country. It's pretty, not counting Maui, that's not a third world country, but it's inspiring. It gets you up in the morning. It makes you feel better about yourself and the people around you. And the best thing I could say about Rotary is that you can be a part of making the world a better place. And particularly after this last week with the fires, we all need a little bit of that feeling, you know. So anyway, I would certainly encourage you to explore Rotary. And if you're interested, just get in touch with me or Steve or whoever, and we'll sit down and we can talk more one-on-one about it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Well, interestingly enough, Bill, come up here. And Bill, Coach, come up here, please. Bill, you can introduce him as your friend, and then I'll give him the bio. Okay? How do you know this man?
Quite a few years ago, Rayford Johnson, who used to come to all our meetings, we had a little workout group on the track at UCLA, and John would be down there trying to stay in shape in between seasons, and we got friendly, and we spent some time together. We've gone to lunch a few times, and we've enjoyed each other's company, and he's a terrific guy, and I thought you all would enjoy spending a little time with him today. So John Savage, my friend and our coach at UCLA, and
I'm just going to say a few words.
and Ben,
Would you believe this is his 20th year? He looks like he's 30 years old. He's been a coach.
This is my 21st year.
21st year, excuse me. It says 20 years.
Yeah, I completed 20 years.
Oh, you completed 20 years. He has brought consistency to the UCLA program to the point in 2013, we were the national champion, correct?
Correct.
It's hard to be a national champion of anything.
Correct.
And now it's even more difficult, is
Correct.
all right, so you'll talk about that. And I would imagine I could go on and on about all his player development and who is now in the major leagues because of this nice young man. And I say it young because you are younger than I am. So, and I think you can introduce yourself better than anybody. And please elaborate.
Thank you.
Let's go. Let's hear it.
Well, first off, just like to thank Bill and for inviting me. Really looking forward to the opportunity to speak with you guys today. I know our thoughts and prayers are with everybody that's clearly been affected with the fires, Altadena, of course, Pacific Palisades, and the greater LA area. We've been affected. Some of our players, their families, their friends, donors, staff members. I think everybody's been really jolted by what went on last week, and so I'm here just to kind of refresh a little bit and give you a little update on UCLA baseball. I am just completed my 20th season. I love being at UCLA. I started my career at University of Nevada, Reno in 1991 and to 96. And then I became an assistant at USC from 97 to 2000. Had Barry Zito at USC, Mark Pryor. Won a national championship there in 1998 as an assistant. Got the privilege to start a new baseball program in 2000 at UC Irvine. And I became the head coach there, started up the program. Dan Guerrero was the athletic director at the time. So I got to know Dan very, very well. Spent 4 years with him, and then he took off to UCLA, and then eventually he brought me to UCLA. But was at UC Irvine, had 4 really good years there. We built the ballpark, we built the program in the Big West. That was a lot of fun to be Division I right away. Got here in 2005 and had my worst year I've ever had, my first year at UCLA. We were 15 and 21, and I had no idea what I got myself into. But I knew it was a takeover. It was a program that needed to be reestablished. So I knew somewhat because we had beat UCLA four out of 4 times at Irvine, and clearly played against UCLA when I was at USC, and they had some really, really good teams in the late 90s. I'm sure you know, with Troy Gloss, Eric Burns, Eric Valent, of course, Chase Utley, some really, really offensive players at UCLA in the late 90s. And I had to get those guys out. I'm a pitching guy. So that was fun. That was quite an experience. But then started the program at UCLA, or I guess reestablished the program at UCLA. And now I've been here for 20 years. Been to 13 out of 19 postseasons. Won a national championship in 13. We've been a national seed in 2010, 2015, 2019. We've had over 100. We have had 129 players drafted, which is pretty cool in 20 years. That's an average of about almost 7 players per year drafted. What I'm most proud at, 29 of those players. It doesn't sound like a lot, but if you know percentages of major leagues and how difficult it is to get there, 29 of our players have played in the major leagues that have been drafted out of UCLA. So we're very proud of those guys. Matt McLean, the recent ones, Matt McLean, Garrett Mitchell, of course, Brandon Crawford and Gerrit Cole, and, some big name, Griffin Canning, James Caprillion, some guys that really established themselves as everyday major leaguers, Mike Toglia with the Rockies. So we've done a lot at UCLA. We've been at Jackie Robinson since UCLA's been there at the ballpark. They were at Sawtelle Field, but then it turned into Jackie Robinson Stadium in 1981. And I love the ballpark. I love what it stands for. Clearly, Jackie was a 4-sport athlete at UCLA from 1939 to 1941. Jackie was a veteran, so that ties in with clearly where we're at. We're on the veterans' property. I don't really want to get into what went on during the fall. That was a unfortunate circumstance that we got kicked out of the ballpark for a few months, and then we're back in, and we're back home. So the players are safe. They're happy. The fall was difficult. We were on a bus every day. We traveled, and and worked out at LA Valley College, at Birmingham High School, and Harvard Westlake High School, and Notre Dame High School, and we were all over the place every day. It was difficult, but I really think we came together and really formed a special bond. We're going to have a really, really good team. I brought all kinds of schedules this year. For this year, we open up on February 14th against Cal Poly. So that's coming around the corner. We are going to be at Jackie. We have season tickets. We have parking. We have everything that goes along with a game day. We'd love to have you out. It's a gorgeous ballpark. It's a great venue. We have Vanderbilt coming in. We have Connecticut coming in. We have from the Big Ten. This is a whole new world for me. I've been in the Pac-12 my whole life, Pac-10, Pac-12 as a coach. So this is, no more Stanfords and Cals and Oregons and Oregon is still in the big, they're in the Big Ten, but Oregon State and Arizona State, and those teams have moved on to the Big 12, and then Cal and Stanford moved on to the ACC, and as you know, it's gone crazy in terms of the league changes. But we're excited. We're excited about being in the Big Ten. We're getting the best of both worlds. We're playing a lot of West Coast people outside of conference, really good people on the road and at home. And then, of course, we still have USC, Oregon, and Washington in the league. There's 16 baseball teams. Wisconsin does not play baseball, so that leaves us with 16 teams. We have 10 full weekends of 3 games. That's your 30-game schedule for conference, and then we play 26 non-conference games against the Vanderbilts and the Oregon States and the Long Beaches and the Irvines and Cal Polys of the world. But the Big Ten, we have Indiana coming in, we have Nebraska coming in, we have Washington, Penn State, and Northwestern. We go to Purdue, we go to Illinois. You clapping for Purdue or Illinois? Okay, so Illinois. I heard the ballpark's small and offensive, so I'm not sure if I like the park. But the Illinois, Purdue, Maryland. We go to Maryland in March. That should be interesting. And then, of course, we go to USC and Oregon. So really, the travel is not as crazy as people make it sound. We have 3 really East Coast trips, or at least that's clearly that part of the country. So I'd love to have you guys out. Like I said, it's a wonderful ballpark. We have a really, really good team. We had a #1 recruiting class in the country 2 years ago. They're going to be sophomores. We've held on to all of them. I'm not a portal program. I'm a player development program. I believe in high school players. I believe in developing high school players for 3 years, sometimes 4, of course, and then moving them along into the real world, either into professional baseball or into the business world or degree world of finishing your degree at UCLA. We've had a lot of success academically. We've had a lot of success on the field, and I think we've done it the right way. We're not and there might be a lot of coaches that are portal coaches. Now there's nothing against the portal in a lot of ways in terms of the ability to move schools and all that, but I believe in loyalty. I believe in 18-year-old players, 19-year-old players, leaving when they're 21-year-old, 22-year-old, and I just think it's I want to buck the system. I want to get back to Omaha and win another national championship, really with true Bruins, guys that know this place, guys that are familiar with our history. I have a little quick. We have a history lesson, we call it, which is pretty cool. So each player is assigned with a famous Bruin player. It doesn't need to be a famous player, but a solid Bruin player. And Rock Chalowski, our great shortstop, that'll be a top 10 pick next year, a fantastic shortstop. I gave him Brandon Crawford. So he gets in front of the team and talks about Brandon Crawford for 2 minutes and kind of gives a history lesson. So our players get to know the history of the program. and really understand the roots of the program and what was built and what was here before and the success and what trials and all the things that the players went through. The next guy will come up and talk about Jackie Robinson for 2-3 minutes, and the next guy will come up and talk about Chase Utley for 2 or 3 minutes, and they do it just like this in front of their teammates, and they're not reading it off a page. They have to do a little homework, and it's been a fun. We started that this fall. I just wanted to bring that up. I just thought because I think it's important that people talk about true Bruins all the time. Well, what does that look like? And I think it talks about longevity. It talks about consistency. Talks about growth. Talks about pure development, both clearly on and off the field. These kids are being faced with a lot of different things right now, and a lot of it is not good, in my opinion. And I think it's really important that we treat them right. The families know that we're treating them right, that we're taking care of them. And it's been difficult with COVID. The last 4 years have been difficult on us. COVID got us pretty good, just the roster and the whole landscape. I mean, we were the #1 team in the country in 2019 for 4 months. Okay, we're doing what the UCLA women's basketball team's doing right now in 2019. I mean, they're winning, and usually you get knocked out of that one spot for a week or two, or more, or you may never even see it again. But we were in there for 4 months in baseball, which is very, very rare. That means you're basically winning 3 out of 4, 4 out of 4 every week, regardless of who you're playing. And those guys had a remarkable year. We had the most players drafted in 2019. We lost to Michigan in the Super Regional, and that hurt. Michigan was a hot team. They came in and beat us in the third game of a 2 out of 3 regional. Went on and played for Vanderbilt, played against Vanderbilt in the national championship, beat them once, and they were 1 game away from winning the whole thing. And then Vandy beat them twice. In 2020, we were 15-1 in 20. Beat up Vanderbilt, A&M, Texas A&M, Oklahoma State, TCU. We were on a roll in 20, and that was somewhat of kind of supposed to be a rebuilding year. And we were just as good or maybe even better in 20. Boom, COVID hit in March of 2020, and we made the regionals in 21 and 22. We went to Lubbock, and then we went to Auburn in 22. We won 40 games in 22, and then we did not make the regionals last year. And NIL, I don't know if you're familiar with NIL. That's name, image, and likeness, and I'm all for it. Trust me, I'm all for I'm on the player side of things in that regard. But clearly it's being abused, and it's being it's not being used the right way. We know that, and in football and basketball, I think anybody that knows anything really can see that. People are just being bought. There's not really much name, image, and likeness going on. Quarterbacks are worth this much, and tight ends are worth this much, and receivers, and so that part is a whole different grade level in terms of football and basketball. And then baseball's hit NIL pretty good, and particularly in the Southeast, ACC, Big 12. The West is behind clearly, and I think probably the West is behind even in football and basketball when it comes to NIL. That's my the word on the street and this and that, but like I said, I'm not here to talk about those sports, but I think that the idea was good, and them getting their award or what they're worth or what some of the things that they did, I'm all for, but clearly it's been blown up, and the NCAA has lost control of any sort of. Am I losing this, or are we okay? They've kind of lost their handle on things. The truth be told, on litigation and of course transferring and portal and Now the JC athletes might have a year back, and the COVID kids all got a year back, and there's kids that are playing in basketball and football that are at their fourth or fifth school. So it's hard for me to say that those are true Bruins. Now we're not complete choir boy. I mean, we do have to play the game, and we're trying to keep up. And it's become really difficult in baseball. And here's why: is that the draft? If you follow baseball, the draft in 20 with COVID was 5 rounds. Okay, it was 5 rounds, and in 21 they knocked it down. Well, it was 40 rounds. Okay, 40 rounds forever and ever and ever, and so 40 rounds of 30 players per round. That's a lot of players throughout the country. Well, with the Major League Baseball cutting teams at the lower levels, the owners they want less players in their organization, right? They just want less fat in terms of the lower levels, of low A, high A, and complex leagues. So they cut the draft down to 20 rounds, and 20 rounds is pretty small in baseball. When you talk about the entire country, Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA, junior college, high school players, it's really, really, really difficult to get drafted these days. Much more, we had 10 players drafted in 21. We had 10 players drafted in the first 20 rounds, and that's the most has ever been drafted by any school in the history of baseball. Okay, and that was a lot, 10. And so a lot of these kids have nowhere to go, is my point. And they're getting extra years of eligibility. So my 18 or 19-year-olds, really the last couple of years, are playing against 22, 23, 24-year-olds. And my guys are still prospects. And a lot of the 22, 23, 24-year-olds, they've already been scouted, right? They've already kind of been passed by. Now, they may have a year of eligibility left, 2 years of eligibility left. Well, they're going to play. Well, even though if they're not prospects, doesn't mean they're not good baseball players. There's a lot of good 22, 23, 24-year-old baseball players throughout the country that are playing college that are not pro players, but they're very good, sound college baseball players. And they're 5 to 6 years older than my guys. And you can only imagine, when you're talking about 4 or 5 year difference, regardless of how talented you are at 18 or 19, it's a difference. I mean, it's just a difference. And so we're fighting that a little bit. We're young. I mean, there was JCs, and let me tell you how young we were last year. There was 4 or 5 JCs, that stands for junior college, that were older than we were last year. Okay, and it was a hard lesson, because you used to be able to be young and still win, and win fairly big. And I think Mick went through some things, of course, and Deshaun's first year, he's recognized a few things, of course, and boy, I mean, you can't win with freshmen and sophomores. We had the most at bats as any team in the country last year by freshmen. We had the most innings last year in the country by freshmen. Well, that's a hard recipe to fight. And so they're a year older. We had this many transfers leave that were freshmen. We did have 2 older guys that left. And so that number is extremely, extremely small in terms of people coming and going, right? So we have a really good collaboration of Bruins currently, and we're going to be really good over the next 2 years. Now, there are things that go into play here. I mean, it's NIL is a factor. My shortstop could probably go to any place in the SEC. He's probably looking at anywhere between $300,000 to $500,000 a year, and those numbers aren't made up numbers. Those are real numbers. And again, we're talking about baseball. We're not talking about football and basketball. So you can only imagine what's going on there. But Rock will be here. Rock Chalowski, he'll stay here, I think. But we are we're collaborating, and we're doing some NIL. And I'm scratching and clawing for funds, as you can imagine, scholarships and the whole deal. But So it's an interesting time to be in college athletics. I can tell you that. Excuse me one sec. And it's the West. We have a lot of players. We can win national championships, I believe, from Santa Barbara to San Diego with players. I mean, there's enough players here that you can win a national. We've proven that with this, but times have changed. There's a lot of West Coast guys going clearly to that different parts of the country because there's a lot more money. There's bigger stadiums. There's more money. There's more fans. But in terms of, I always say my name and image and likeness is Major League Baseball development. I mean, if you want to make real money, it's in the major leagues. Gerrit Cole turned down $4 million, signed for $8 million, and now he's making $325 million. Okay, now now that's a little bit of an exception, right? He makes $36 million a year, and he had to stay healthy until he was 29 years old. So he had to meet free agency. If you're familiar with arbitration and free agency, it's a grind to get there. To really make significant life-altering, crazy money. And those guys, usually have to stay healthy and perform and be outlast people. And Gerrit clearly was one of them. Brandon Crawford played as shortstop for the San Francisco. He was drafted by the San Francisco Giants in 2008. And then, he played the most games in the history of the San Francisco Giants at shortstop. That was a remarkable story, really. He's played I think the fifth most games in the history of the San Francisco Giants. It was Barry Bonds and Willie McCovey and, Orlando Cepeda, just a monster list. And you see Brandon Crawford, it's like, wow, he's a UCLA Bruin. And that was our first recruiting class. We had six guys in our first recruiting class that had played in the major leagues, which is pretty cool. But our recruiting class is predominantly, we're high school driven. You talk about, if you looked at my roster today, 98%, 99% is high school players. There may be a JC player that, really good student and really good player who's coming for a year or two. Okay, we might have one. Yeah, I think we have two of those. So I know we can do it. I know what good baseball looks like. I know what fundamental baseball looks like. I know what winning baseball looks like. It's the Big Ten was kind of a shot in the face. I couldn't believe my daughter was getting married in Santa Cruz in 2022, I guess it was, and I was driving and Martin called Jarmon and said, "Hey, are you sitting down?" I said, "Well, I am. I'm driving, but we're going to the Big Ten." And I'm like, "What? You got to be kidding me!" And I mean, I would have bet, my house, everything on that I would never ever been in the Big Ten when I went to UCLA. And so life has clearly changed in college athletics. And I'm not saying for the worse or this or that. I'm just telling you, the landscape has clearly changed. It's something that the players, we got wonderful, wonderful guys. We have guys that really want to get back to Omaha, that want to, stay with our program, want to develop, want to win. They know the history of the program. It's pretty cool because Gary, I don't know if you guys know Gary Adams, I'm sure you do. Gary was here for 30 years. And that's kind of cool because I've been here for 20 years. So this is my 21st year. So the last 50 years, UCLA baseball has had two head coaches. And that, for me, that's loyalty, consistency, whatever word you want to put on there. But I do respect Gary a lot. Gary is a wonderful, wonderful man. Comes to our golf tournament every year. Every year, comes to our games, supports our guys. Really wonderful guy. So I have a ton of respect for Gary and what he did at UCLA. They didn't give Gary, that much. Dan Guerrero, I have to certainly mention. I love Dan. Dan was my boss at Irvine for 4 years. Then he was my boss here for, 17 years, 16, 17 years. So I miss Dan every day. He's a guy that, is a Bruin. He played at UCLA. He loves baseball, comes to all the games today. And just, it was fun just having a guy. He's kind of like a little pseudo general manager in some ways. Sometimes you talk about players and lineups. I'm like, Dan, just relax. Just hold on tight, Dan. Just enjoy the game. But he knows baseball, and that was fun because having a boss like that could talk baseball was pretty cool. But I brought some things today that I could talk about the roster, and I did talk about that. The schedule. I brought the schedule. You can see the schedule. But I talked about being a true Bruin and what are the things that we emphasize on the player side of it this fall. Like, what are the elements of a true Bruin? And what's elements of winning? And what's the elements of getting back to where we want to get back to? So I'm going to go through these briefly. Hopefully these don't bore you, but it's some of the things that we kind of are living by this year's team. And I have 3 captains, great captains, Rock Chalowski, Michael Barnett, and Cody Delvecchio, 2 pitchers and a shortstop. And so they're the leaders within the ground level. They're the leaders of the team. You got to have great player leadership these days, or else the clubhouse could be a mess. And that's what's going on in football and basketball a lot of times. When that guy's making $1 million, that guy's playing better than that guy. That guy's getting 100,000. That guy's a walk-on. He's not getting anything. He's better than both. It's a mess. You can only imagine what's going on when there's different pay scales. And I always say, hey, they're not professional players, right? You really don't know what you're getting until you get it. And that's, we're finding that out. I mean, you find that out in terms of, we thought this guy was this, and he's not that. And there's walk-ons or guys that you didn't think that may be that good, and they're really good, so on and so forth. I mean, it's baseball and it's life. But the 5 things that we really stress to the players, is it helping us win? Number 1, is it helping us win? Winning traits, that could be, academics, how you treat your mentor, how you treat your tutor, how your attendance to class, your demeanor in the training room, your ability to work in the weight room, what type of teammate you are. Does all this give you a chance to win? Or are you cutting corners? Are you lying about being sick or your car being broke down? You can't get to your mentor. Losing traits basically. And so we really wanted to emphasize with the players what winning looks like, and what and really what is the ability to just give you the best chance, because there's no guarantee. Hey, let's go to Omaha. Well, everybody's talking about Omaha, whole country. I mean, what does it look like? What is your day-to-day? What does it look like? What does your practice look like? What does your weight room look like? What does your stretch line look like? What do your grades look like? Your ability to, connect with the community, your ability to, just in terms of, living the college life, and obviously being a great teammate. So number 1 is winning traits. Number 2, on the flip side, is what's not helping our cause. Losing traits. I don't know. It could be plagiarism, right? Guys can get eligible because they cheated in a classroom, or if they are not going to class and they're saying they are, or they're telling a tutor, like I go back to that part of it, or they're wondering why we're doing this drill, and they're sitting out there being kind of a bad teammate, being a negative. Misery loves company. We all know that sometimes that negative. That's why you want to get bad guys out of your program, because you want to give a chance to win. And so what are losing traits look like on the flip side of that? Number 3, day-to-day details. How detailed are we? Number 4, we want to build our identity. We want to rebuild who we are. We want to rebuild our team. And then we want to have number 5, Bruin fundamental baseball, the best defensive pitching team in the country. We've led the country in pitching for several years. ERA, WHIP, if you're familiar with all those numbers. Then the coaches, I gave the coaches 9 things. So I went through these 5 things with the players, and then they're integrating all these things into their everyday life of forming this team. And then we got hit by the field. The first day of school, okay, in September, we got kicked out of our ballpark. Okay, the first day of school. So I'm in the clubhouse with 9 freshmen, and their first college experience is Martin's talking to everybody. Martin was great and said, "Hey guys, we got kicked out of the ballpark. We don't know where we're going to play. It's a court order." And I'm thinking, man, wow. I mean, this is not really how we scripted this. I mean, 3 days before we're working out at the ballpark, and it's gorgeous, and it's everything is fine, and then on that next day or that day, they were ripping pictures off my wall. They were taking things, TVs out, cameras out. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy. So, we had to reinvest in who we were, and like I said, we went into this player deal. So here's the 9 things I talked to the coaches about. Care level for all the players. Everybody counts. Day-to-day operations, care level of the process to the plan. Number 2, communication. Plan ahead, future events, recruiting, health. And then a lot of these really hit us. This is before we got kicked out. So a lot of these things we really had to put into live action right away because of the situation we were in. Number 3, loyalty. I mean, if you don't have loyalty, you really don't have anything. And number 4, heightened awareness, seeing it and acknowledge good, fixing bad. Having awareness. That's the one thing a lot of these kids don't have today. They don't have great awareness of what's going on around them a lot of times. So we're trying to create. They have skill sets. They have tools. They can run, they can throw, they can jump, they can do. But some of them can't play. Some of them can't. They just don't have the awareness of what's being done to them from a pitcher to a hitter, or what type of hitter are they? What type of pitcher are they? Because there's so many non-baseball people touching these guys now in terms of making money and data and analytics and technology. I mean, there's a lot going on out there, and we're trying to teach them to be baseball players. Number 5, I'm still talking to coaches. Having a specialty, do what you do at a high level, knowing what you're coaching and who you're coaching. So what I mean by that is that you got to understand how this guy learns, right? Is it a hear? Is it a see? Is it video? Is it him doing it himself? Is it him watching somebody else? And then we got to have the right information. We got to be able to make them adapt into the best players they can possibly be. Number 6, connection with the players. Always talk with team in mind. We talk about team. Number 7, adapt whatever comes our way. That got hit right in the face. First day, that week, forward focus. Be honest, trust one another, have each other's back. And then number 9 was do simple better. Just be as simple as we can, but be really good at it. Now, if anybody knows anything about baseball, it's not an easy game. It's not an easy game. There's a lot of things within the game that you got to know the game. You got to know the timing of certain things. You got to have good timing. You got to have good rhythm. You got to have good communication. You got to have the good ability to adjust to like I said, to a pitcher. So these are just some of the things that I wanted to bring today that were just brought up rather than talk about the team or the roster. I wanted to kind of say these are our goals. These are our things that we want to reestablish. And when I say reestablish, I'm not talking about, we've been bad for 10 years. I mean, it's nothing like that. It's just kind of a, where we were last year is clearly where we don't want to be this year. And where the objectives are and the goals for the players. And then ultimately, what is the staff? How's the staff handling things? So I want to talk about that. I'd love to answer any questions that you have. It's like I said, we're just started on January 6th, and then we got we went 3 days, 3 beautiful days, and then we were off 3 days because of the fires. And it's like, wow, okay. And then, and if you know where Jackie Robinson is, Pacific Palisades is close, and it's literally right behind the ballpark. Somewhat, Santa Monica, and, so the smoke, you can only imagine, you guys saw it and lived it, but so that was scary, and we had to put our players in hotel, and, they were being evacuated. It's just different things that we've ever experienced, but we are back now. We do open up in a month. We're working out today. I got to get back today, but so I know I've talked about various things, and I hope I didn't, dance around and jump around too much, but I just wanted to kind of let you guys know where the state of the program is, clearly where we are, moving into the Big Ten. But I'd love to answer any questions that you guys have, and I hope I can answer some of them. Now you can ask the question. Sorry about that.
John, I think you've given out a lot of information and wonderful.
Yes, it was.
You, sir,
Thank you.
give me a real clear idea when you was a head coach and UCLA Bruins. I do have a question about that NIL. You opened it up to a lot of
Yeah.
the NIL. You talked about player development and loyalty and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't NIL destroy that concept a little bit? I mean,
Well, I think it, yeah.
Go to the ACC or something. I mean, here's the guy who I thought was a loyal Bruin, and yet the money he's going to transfer.
Yeah, I think you find out about a lot of people during this time. You really find out where their heart is, where their what do they value? Do they value school? Do they value a UCLA education? Do they value good coaching? Do they value progression from being an amateur to a professional player? It's very, very hard because some of the families just, they're looking at, hey man, we got to go. We're getting a couple $100,000. I just lost my job. So there's a lot of factors for movement. There's some factors, guys don't play and they have to go somewhere else. Okay, that's one factor. The money thing, the NCAA lost complete control of, what's gone on. And I mean, if I signed this bell, if I signed this and put John Savage autograph and gave it to you, and you gave me $500K, that deal's clean. Okay, that's how low the NIL can go. I mean, it's an autograph baseball. That's an autograph football. It doesn't need to be, 100 hours of community service and, you got to go to the hospital 5 times. I mean, it's unfortunately, it's not that. It's there's no rules. Mick says that a lot. I don't really love saying there's no rules because there are rules, but it's hard to put, and that's what I hate about it because there's a lot of bad coaches winning games, and that bothers me. Guys that we used to kick around pretty good when it was kind of everything was kind of equal. Now things are changed, and there's schools that have a lot more money. I heard the other day LSU baseball has $4 million in their baseball program outside. Now we're talking about outside of scholarships. Okay, we're not even talking about scholarships. Scholarships is like that's like we're not even talking about scholarships. So when I have a player leave, I show them the door. Number one, I don't. If somebody tells me that they're going to want to leave, I never, ever talk to anybody about staying. I've learned that the hard way. And if you want to leave and think that way, and a lot of times we had a guy that go to LSU and he won a national championship as a pitcher, Thatcher Hurd, and he's a good kid. But he lost millions and millions. He would have been a top 5 pick, top 10 pick out of here after his freshman year. And he lost a lot of money by transfer. And so it's not always, I mean, and the portal has all these players, right? All these sports, all these players. A lot of these kids have nowhere to go. People can talk about, oh, this guy and that guy. Well, you don't even know half of the portal that have really nowhere to go. And so it's just a big mess because you can transfer right away. You could be eligible right away. You could leave and be eligible right away. And that's a problem. Now in baseball, the good thing about baseball and the bad thing about baseball is a lot of these schools, I bring in 34 players. This year we have 40 players. That's a max you can have in Division I baseball. So we bring in 40 players. I can't bring in any player and just cut. It just they have to be on the roster for 2 years. But Arkansas and Tennessee, and they're bringing in 60 players, and then they cut 20 players at Christmas, and then they're down to 40 players. So Johnny thinks he's going to Tennessee for 4 years. He doesn't even make. He didn't even make the next semester. He's gone. Well, Johnny can't go play at a Division I school in January, and that's for me. If you get kicked out of the program and you get kicked into the portal, that's okay. That's not good. And then there's guys that are actively seeking to go in the portal and the program doesn't want them to leave. So every situation's different. But we can't mid-year play is what I mean. You can't be at Cal in the fall and then play at UCLA in the spring. You can't do that. You have to wait for next year. I like that part. That protects us a little bit from people really moving around during the break. That would be a complete disaster if that was the case. But I don't agree with the schools that are bringing in 60 and they're cutting 20 and they have nowhere to go. They got to go to either a junior college or they got to sit there for a year. And so it's a mess. And somebody's got to do something about it because the kid, at least in baseball, they're not being treated fair at a lot of schools. And they are at UCLA for the most part. I mean, they really are. But some schools it's just not what people think it is. And they're gone. So the NIL is, I think the design and the concept was great, was ideal. But what has gone actively forward in terms of what's gone on clearly is, out of control. And so, and again, I'm a baseball coach. I mean, you can only imagine what's going on in basketball and football. Okay, so I'm a baseball coach. So yes, sir.
I've seen over the years a lot of the UCLA basketball players that went out too early.
Yeah.
And I would imagine it's got to be in other programs as well.
Yeah.
And, they end up going to
G League.
or they're in European leagues.
Yeah, overseas.
How do you address that? How do you talk some sense?
It's hard. It's hard because of agents and advisors, and usually the league will tell you where you fit. Now, I know that the NBA has a thing where they grade guys out before the draft, and the NFL does that a little bit too. Baseball, you really it's cold turkey. You don't know where you're going to go, but it's hard because when you tell a kid, hey man, you're not ready, you need to come back. Well, that kid goes back to his agent or his family, and now he's just being selfish. Coach is being selfish. He just wants you back for his own sake. I mean, I think Mick Cronin is as honest as they come, and he knows when the guys are ready. He knows when they're ready and when they're not ready, and it's hard. I mean, I'm not a baseball. You got to play 3 years. For me, if you're a really good player and you play, do I need to be over?
7.
Okay, so
Like a minute.
minute. Okay,
You got a minute.
Okay, I got a minute. So 3 years is a long time. I'll take 3 years any day of the week. So baseball kind of has a good rule. You got to play there 3 years. And then now if you're 21, you can get draft eligible as a sophomore. So there are some draft eligible sophomores that come in older, they come in 19, coming out of high school, which has happened a little bit more often than not. Yes, sir. So the answer to your question is it's a great question. And there's a lot of guys that aren't ready to go. And basketball is a really, really hard model to play in that league.
A quick question.
Last question.
Minor leagues play compared to college.
Say that again.
A minor league. So there any more minor leagues?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's minor leagues. There's minor leagues.
So for a high school player, you go to the minor leagues or do you go to college?
Well, it depends. I mean, the percentages say you should go to college, but the money sometimes is the grab, right? 2 million, 3 million. That higher end first round money is hard to turn down. We've had 2 first rounders, Matt McClain and Gerrit Cole, that signed for a lot more money that are playing in the major leagues. It was the best decision of their life to come to UCLA. But that's not, you first rounders usually sign. There's a low A, there's a high A, there's a double A, there's a triple A at the minor league level. So they still, they're still developing but it's, you're a professional, you're on the clock, and it's, you're playing with all kinds of players from all over the world, so it's a hard, if you make it as a high school player, Clayton Kershaw, Mookie Betts, there are special players, right, that will make it, but the percentage of high school players making the major leagues right now, last thing I'll say, college players is about 60% in the major leagues. Okay. The foreign player, the international player is about 25%, and the high school player is about 15%. That's close to 100. Yeah. But so the odds say you should go to college. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I could talk to you more, but I'm getting off.
By the way, I'm the bad guy here.
No, you're okay.
John, I want to thank you. This is an appreciation
thank you.
gift.
Thank you.
And let's hear it up. Let's give a hand for Coach Sapp. He could be around for another 20 years.
Let's hope so.
Okay?
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Bye,
Is
everybody.
that an Iowa shirt? Is that an Iowa now? Oh, okay.
We won't hold it against you. I promise.
I have schedules here too, guys, so make sure you grab one on the way out if you can.
And the meeting.
Yeah, I know.
He was going good. He was going well.